There are concerns over the murder case of Emmanuel Mbense, who was allegedly tortured to death by Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department officers. Now, this follows the death of the fourth suspect in the case, with the police's person of interest. That's how he was described, Wiandre Pretorius, who took his own life at a petrol station in Brakpan last night. Police saying they are investigating possible foul play. AfriForum's Bateman joining us now to tell us more about what their organization is doing on their end. Barry, good evening to you. Thank you for your time. The Mbense family approached AfriForum as we understand it. Talk to us about what their reasons were for wanting AfriForum's private legal investigative arm to help them.
Good evening, Koli. Thanks for having me. Emmanuel Mbense's family approached AfriForum's private prosecution unit because the murder took place in April 2022. And since then, the family's being told that arrests are imminent, that the investigation is underway. Until it came to the testimony of Mr. Maurice van der Merwe in October last year, when an EMPD investigator forewarned the family that they can expect information about the murder to be revealed at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. That was the first time that the family actually got fine details about what happened to their loved one. It was days after that, 3 days in fact, in mid-October, that our office had the first consultation with Emmanuel Mbense's family. And the reason they approached us is because they wanted answers. They wanted to find out what's happening in the investigation, and they wanted accountability for the people who had murdered their loved one. It's in that capacity that we represent the family, and we've been trying to engage with EMPD. We got confirmation this week, as the public did, that the docket has been handed over to the NPA for a decision on who to prosecute. So that's as much as we know, but we're left asking the same question that I'm sure everyone else is: who's left to prosecute?
Yeah. At which point does AfriForum get into the legal picture? I think what I'm asking you here is that when the family says, we are frustrated by South Africa's law enforcement authorities in trying to investigate this case, please, can you help us take it over? You don't just jump in. There are processes that guide you in order for you as a private prosecuting arm to take over. At which point then is the entry for you?
Well, we're already in the legal sphere because our office acts as a firm of attorney. So Advocate Garinel has been instructed as an advocate would be instructed. So we do represent them on a legal aspect. But I think what you're referring to is, where does private prosecution perhaps step in or become relevant? And that would be in an instance where the docket, let's say in this case, is presented to the DPP and the DPP declines to prosecute. The family would then have the required direct interest in the matter in terms of the Criminal Procedure Act, Section 7, and we could then apply for a copy of that docket, assess it ourselves, and if it's, if the prospects are available for a successful prosecution, we could then initiate the processes for a private prosecution. But from a legal aspect, we represent the family. We are their voices in this process. And looking at other options for criminal intervention, we haven't ruled out the possibility of pursuing, I forget the term now, but the failure by the state to investigate this matter could be a case of obstruction of justice.
Yeah.
And we believe that is a possibility for the family if the state declines to prosecute.
Yeah. I was hoping, Barry, to bring you a soundbite of the police's spokesperson, Brigadier Athlenda Mate, whom I had a conversation with just in the last hour. And I asked her specifically what they would say to the Mbense family in reassuring them that their matter is not a cold case, but is actively being pursued. And she did actually say that the family must know that the police are not resting on their laurels, so to speak. Does it surprise you, therefore, that things have moved so quickly? Because what she says is that imminent arrests are imminent and that the matter is ripe for possibly going to court. It does appear that you may not necessarily play a role here, it would seem.
I disagree there, because this is just the start of one process in a long process related to a trial. We don't, once the state takes over, disappear, because the family has been hearing that arrests are imminent for the last 4 years. I take Atlanta on a word, absolutely. And where the case has got to now, after 4 years of investigation, a docket has finally been presented to the NPA for a decision. IPID has been sitting with this case at least since mid or early 2023, when Mr. Van der Merwe came forward as a Section 204 witness. What has happened since then? How can it be that we sit for so long, and in this interim, we've got 4 of the suspects that are dead, either assassinated or they've taken their own lives? So once that docket goes to the NPA, it doesn't mean it's the end of the case and everything's going to fall into place. There is trying to navigate a criminal justice system that is broken. We still have an IPID that is not communicating with the family or providing them with the necessary updates on what is happening in the case. And we expect the same to happen with the NPA. So for as long as the family requires legal representation, AfriForum's private prosecution unit will be by their side as they navigate this process, and we can hopefully get to a trial and some kind of accountability for the murder of this loved one.
Let me end the question or the conversation with what you started with, and that is whether there will be anyone left for the state to prosecute. There have been 4 deaths so far, either by assassination and the latest one through suicide. There are 8 people of interest that remain. They are not termed suspects yet. They are persons of interest. And yet, we're being told at the same time that arrests are going to be imminent. I suppose only then will they be suspects. Are you concerned at the rate at which people surrounding this case are dying off?
We're absolutely concerned. When I sent a message to our client on Thursday with that so-called assassination attempt at Mr. Pretorius' house, he said to me, we just pray to God that there's going to be somebody left to prosecute. So we certainly are concerned. But of the remaining 8, what evidence is there to tie them to the murder of Mr. Mbense? With Mr. Van der Merwe, we knew there he was going to implicate himself, and he had implicated other people. We know that there was a Mr. Yaku Hanekom who was murdered in March 2023, who was referred to at the Midlanga Commission as well. We don't know if he was going to provide any evidence, but he was somebody who was linked to this particular scene. We learned today, and this came as something interesting to us, that there was another person who was murdered in October last year. So around about the same time that Mr. Van der Merwe was providing the evidence, and at least weeks before he was murdered, somebody else of the 12 who were in this house who were linked to this case was also murdered. So it's deeply concerning that more and more people are being linked to this crime or dying. What is left to tie any of these people? We know there were 2 police officers from the Brakpan SAPS, according to Mr. Van der Merwe, inside the room when Mr. Pretorius was allegedly doing the torturing. Is there any evidence to tie them to the actual murder? What is left? It's deeply concerning, and we hope to get answers from IPID.
Barry Bateman, thank you very much for your time.